Our topic for today is, do you need to make a new start? I'll say that again. Do you need to make a new start? Oh, thanks for joining us on Instagram and on Facebook. Welcome, Sade, and all the others on Instagram and those on Facebook Live. As you know, our teachings today are always based on our book, The 12 Universal Laws of Success. And of course, it's available on all of the websites, Amazon, our own website, herbertharris.com, and all the other digital sites. Also want to remind people about our home study course, New You for the New Year, a transformation home study course that can help you be what you want to be, do what you want to do, and have whatever you want to have. Now, before we get into our class today, I'd like to just do a brief meditation to help us get centered on what we're about to cover. So just sit straight up in your seats, put your feet flat on the floor, close your outer eyes, take a deep breath, hold it, let it out slowly. Take a deep breath, hold it, let it out slowly. And in this state of peace and relaxation, we are at peace with ourselves. I am at peace with myself. Let us affirm that together. I am at peace with myself. Once more, I am at peace with myself. Let that peace sink in. And in this state of peace and relaxation, our minds are open, receptive, and ready to learn. My mind is open, receptive, and ready to learn. Let us affirm that together. My mind is open, receptive, and ready to learn. Once more. My mind is open, receptive, and ready to learn. Take a deep breath. Let it out slowly. And in this state of peace and relaxation, we are ready to get into our lesson today. Once again, thank you who've joined us on Instagram and who've joined us on Facebook and our own Success Mentorship Network team on Zoom. I love to begin with a quote, and our quote for today comes from Guy Stanley. And he says, "Nothing in the universe can stop you from letting go and starting over." Let me read that again. Nothing in the universe can stop you from letting go and starting over. That's a powerful thought, folks. It says a few things. Number one, whatever your situation is, you have to let go to start over. The principle here, we're dealing mainly with the second law of success, the law of change, and the first law of success, the law of thought. And the law of change says, be not conformed to this world, but be you transformed by the renewing of your mind. In other words, you don't have to stay stuck in whatever situation you may be in right now. That your present circumstances do not determine your future possibilities. And that you can change your circumstances by changing your thinking. That's a powerful thought, folks, because life is really about change. We exist on the river of time. I'll say that again. We exist on the river of time. So all that we do, all that we experience in our lives takes place on the river of time. And as a river does, the nature of a river is that it is always in motion. It is always changing. And so if we exist on the river of time, then what is our experience of life? How do we experience life on this river? And our life is determined by our thoughts, our emotions or feelings, our habits, and our relationships. Wow, that seems simple, doesn't it? That whatever we're going through right now is a result of our thinking, our feeling, our habits, and our relationships. And so on this river, how do we know if we need a change? Many times people live a life of denial, a life of excuses where they never address the reality that they are experiencing, or they make excuses for a reality that they don't like so that they can continue to endure it. I would like to give a vision of life. Life is in a valley. We live in a valley consisting of trees and all the things that you have in the valley. And in the middle of that valley is a mountain. And so those of us live in this environment, the valley and the mountain, really it breaks down, there are three kinds of people. We think about this. Then, number one, there are people we call clingers. And clingers are people who hang on to whatever their situation is, whatever the reality that they are experiencing. When we talk about the law of change, be not conformed to this world. Clingers are the people who hang on to this world, whatever that may be. It may be unhappy. It may be a world in which you live in negativity and criticism. It may feel badly because you're unhappy. It may manifest bad habits. Maybe you're on drugs. It may even be, you may be even be experiencing bad relationships, relationships with people who don't love and honor you. So, but clingers are those who find a way to explain that away. And so those who are listening today, are you clinging to something that's really not working for you? Second type of people I call campers. And campers are people who they realize they're living in the valley, they're living in the forest, and the trees and all the things around. When you live in the forest, the trees are the things that obstruct your view. And so all of your issues in the forest deal with trees and weeds and animals. But there are campers who say, hey, there's got to be something different. There's got to be something better. And so they may climb up, in the middle of that forest, there's a mountain there. They see that mountain and something inside says, go up that mountain, see what's up there, see what's on the other side. And campers are good people. I mean, clingers are good people. Everybody, we're all good people. It's just the reality that we permit ourselves to live in that makes a difference. So the campers are people, if you think about the mountain climbers, people who climb the mountain, they take a whole crew with them. And so there are people who go up that mountain of consciousness and they get to a certain point where they say, you know, I'm good. As you climb the mountain, you can see more. As you see more, you can be more. Once you rise above the trees of reality, the trees of lack and limitation, and you begin to see the clouds of possibility, it changes your life. But even so, there's some people, they get to a certain point and they say, you know what, I'm good. You know, as you climb the mountain, the air becomes thinner and thinner. It often gets colder. And so you have a different environment than you have when you live in the valley. And each person, the campers, get to a certain point where they say, I'm good. And it happens on the mountaintop. When you climb the mountain, you start out with a big crew, but as you go higher and higher up the mountain, certain members of your crews drop off, become campers, the base camps, they call it. Finally, by the time you get to the top of the mountain, there may be one or two people. And that's the way it is in life. The interesting point is you choose to be a camper or a climber or a clinger. So with that dynamic, let us look at this. The first key is this: how do you know that you need to make a new start? And it's really, how do you know you need to make a change in your life? Anytime you make a change, it's a new start. Mary Pickford says, you may have a fresh start any moment you choose. Mary Pickford was one of the silent film stars. But she said, you may have a fresh start any moment you choose. And so the moment you decide to change your life, that's a new start. So how do you know? 6 keys. Number 1, you know you need to make a new start. You know you need to make changes in your life when your life is in a state of upheaval. When everything you touch fails. When you hate your job and the job hates you. You may be in relationships where, man, you're not being honored, you're not being loved. In fact, you may even be put in pain, hurt, harm. As a matter of fact, when you're in the experience of this period of turmoil, it seems like every turn, every time you try something, there's resistance, there's pushback. And I know you all know what I'm talking about. I've been there, and I know you've been there, when it seems that everything in your life is in a mess. Those of you who are listening, one of the first keys to making these transformations is to recognize your situation and be honest. So number 1, your life is in a period of upheaval. Number 2, you're at the end of your rope. You see, many times people will exist in a period of upheaval and discomfort, but they never get mad enough to change. When you're at the end of your rope, there comes a point at which you say, you know what? I am sick and tired of being sick and tired. I'm sick and tired of being broke. If you're sick and tired of being broke, say, I'm sick and tired of this. When you're not only at the end of your rope, but when you realize it. Sometimes you'll be at the end of your rope and still be in a state of illusion. But when you're at the end of your rope and you realize it, I am at the end of my rope, I got to do something differently. No more. We often tell the story of the dog sitting on a nail. A passerby comes by and there's a man sitting on the porch in a rocking chair, and there's a dog sitting there, a big dog sitting on a nail, and he's just whimpering. So the man sees the dog whimpering, and he asks the person in the rocking chair, why is the dog whimpering? And the man in the rocking chair says, because he's sitting on a nail. So the stranger says, well, why doesn't the dog get off the nail? The man in the rocking chair says, because it doesn't hurt badly enough. And many times we live our lives like that. We'll be at the end of our rope. We'll be in a bad situation, in a negative thinking, lack and limitation, where we feel bad about ourselves. We may feel like we have a low self-esteem or poor self-image, where we have habits, drinking, partying, things that are unproductive, things that undermine our dreams, where we may be in relationships that are harmful, that are not productive. And yet, we stay. So do you need to make a new start? If that thing hurts badly enough, you got to get off that nail. So that second key, you're at the end of your rope. It hurts bad enough. You got to change. The third key that you need a new start and change in your life is when you get tired of just surviving. See, one of the things about clingers will cling to something that's not working just because they're afraid to try something new. When you're tired of surviving, one of the things that the pandemic brought about was people got a sense that although they've been going through the motions of working every day and spending 40, 50 hours a week, 60 hours a week working on a job and barely getting enough, where your take-home pay is just enough to get you home and back. When the pandemic came, people stopped for a moment and said, well, wait a minute. Is this all there is? Am I all, is all I'm doing is just surviving? Scripture says that we must have life and have life more abundantly. The law of supply says you already have everything you need to get everything you want. So why are you surviving? Survival is a mindset. The law of supply says we have everything we need to get everything we want. Well, why aren't we acting on it? Because we don't see it. You see, when you're a clinger in that valley of life, you don't see the mountains. All you see are trees. You don't see the eagle. You don't see the clouds. You don't see the world. And so I challenge each and every one, if all you're focusing on is surviving. I heard a lady say, all I want to do is pay my rent and pay my bills. You've heard many people say that. But isn't that sad? Because we know the job world. 2 words standing between you and financial ruin. Many people who were in this pandemic, when they found they've been living or renting a house or renting an apartment for 20 years, and all of a sudden you miss 3 months rent and the pandemic moratorium is gone and they're out. So if you focus on surviving, you will never thrive. Be tired of focusing on surviving. Start thinking about thriving. The 4th key that you need to change is when you're living a life that's too small for your dreams. Oh, Dr. Harris, what do you mean? When you're talking in the path and walking in the grass, there are people who talk about success, but yet they feel failure. You know, a person can go out. I've seen people go and they'll buy an expensive car and then complain about the monthly payments. Reverend Ike once said, a guy came up to him and said, Reverend Ike, what kind of gas mileage do you get in a Rolls Royce? Reverend Ike said, never thought about it. Okay, if you got to worry about gas mileage, then you really should not have a Rolls Royce. But that's what I'm saying. When your life is too small for your dreams, that means you're never going to connect with your dreams because you're playing small ball when you should be playing big ball. You see, your life is the seed for your dreams. And so if you're living a life of lack and limitation, where an opportunity presents itself, and instead of saying, how much can I make? What is the potential? You say, how much does it cost? How much will it set me back to take a chance at this opportunity to change my life? Look at that mindset. So don't live a life too small to realize your dreams. The 5th key that you need to change is your soul is calling. You know, each of us in life, when we slow down for a minute, there's a voice inside saying, you can do more. You can be more. You can have more. There's a voice inside you saying, go for it. That's that soul that was the Creator put within us. The soul which wants to fly. The soul that is one with our potential. And it keeps calling and saying, fly. Pursue your dreams. Do your best. That there's nothing that is impossible for you. So many times, though, negative upbringing, negative thinking will try to drown out that soul that's telling you, let's fly. So the 5th key is time for change. It's time to make a new start. Is your soul is calling out and telling you to fly. And finally, the 6th key. You know, as you begin to climb up that mountain of consciousness, you know, the scripture says, seek first the kingdom, and all these things will be added unto you. Seeking is that desire to climb the mountain. Kingdom is consciousness. And so the higher you go up the mountain of consciousness, the more you can see. I love it when so many of our young people, Sade and some of the young people that she's working with, were saying how they're reading books now. to transform their lives. Leaders are readers. And so say yes to reading. When you see more, say yes to whatever it is. And once you climb that mountain, guess what? When you get to up a certain point in the mountain, you look around, you're going to realize, you're going to see there are other mountains. This isn't the only mountain. But if you're living in the valley of mediocrity, you won't even know that there are other mountains. You won't even know there's a mountain in the middle of the forest until you at least get enough gumption to go and look and say, my goodness, out here among the trees is a big hill. What's this about? When you get that feeling inside that you need to give yourself permission, when an opportunity presents itself and something says, go for it, make this trip, take this course, get involved with this person, then you know you're ready for a change. You're ready for a new start. So what's the process? This is where you are right now in your life, and you look at these 6 keys. How do you change it? That's a whole nother lecture. We're going to do a part 2 on this, but let me just summarize it. Number 1, recognizing that we are where we are because of our thoughts, our feelings, our habits, and our relationships. Number 1, we got to have a new thought. When you start making this new start, you can't take the same old baggage that you've been carrying all along into the new reality. You notice as you climb higher and higher up the mountain, you take less and less stuff with you. By the time you get to the top of a particular mountain, all you have is what you absolutely need to survive and thrive. So that's new thought of who you are, what you're about, what you want, what you don't want. What are your values? You see, the values are the rudder that guides your ship on the sea of time. So if you want to make a new start, new thoughts about who you are and what you're about. New feelings, new emotions. You'll find that when it's time to make a new start, the feelings that you have inside are the vibrations and the foundation of your desires. And so if your feelings are negative feelings, then you're going to attract negative results. Whatever vibration you maintain through your feelings, you attract into the world. And so it's critical that you now create new feelings about yourself. Use your I am power, your affirmations. I am. Muhammad Ali said, I am the greatest. So why not you? I am the greatest. I am the wealthiest. I am the happiest. I am the most loving. How you program what you feel will determine what you attract into your life experience. Change your habits. Change your habits because in the beginning, we create the habit, but the habit creates us in the end. So look at those habits, and we know what our bad habits are. As we climb up that mountaintop, you find you got to eat less. You got to conserve your energy. You want to create habits that put you in a rhythm for success. Example, getting up every day at the same time. Example, writing out your plan for the tomorrow the night before. Example, laying out your clothes the night before. Look at all of these things that make stuff work well and then make them into habits. And then finally, relationships. Now, I want to go into this for a moment because this is a key point. It's through relationships you can appeal to the mastermind power, which multiplies and magnifies your ability to get things done and to actually change your life. Relationship with your source. If you're not clear on your relationship with your source, and I mean where you come from, your God consciousness, your spirituality, if you're not clear on that, that needs work. Your relationship with yourself. If you don't love yourself, you're going to attract unlove. When you love yourself, you can then do other things. Anything that you feel about yourself is multiplied and magnified and projected to the world. Your relationship with others. Surround yourself with people who value you. I often ask that question. If you can't add value to someone's life, then don't deal with them. If someone doesn't add value to your life, then you don't need to deal with them. That's something to really look at. If a person that you're interacting with does not add value to your life, and I'm not talking monetary value, that may be a part of it, but if they don't make you feel a certain kind of way, if they don't honor you a certain kind of way, if they don't treat you a certain kind of way, if they're not adding value to your consciousness, get rid of them. Similarly, if you don't add value to somebody else, if you're in a relationship where you don't add value to someone else, you're taking advantage of it. Don't do it. Your relationship with things. You see, the Bible says you can't serve God and mammon. In other words, you can't serve consciousness and materiality. Money is an awesome servant, but a terrible master. And so have a right relationship with things. When we can do these things, when we can have the positive thoughts, when we can have empowering feelings, when we can have uplifting habits, and when we have relationships with all things that add value to us and that we add value to the world, then we have the tools necessary to change your life and to make a new start. Because when you make a new start, now you can be what you want to be. Now you can do what you want to do. Now you can have whatever you desire. Now you can go wherever you want to go, always knowing that the best is yet to come. And so it is. Whew. Thank you so much for being with us today. Just remember these 6 points to change your life. Never forget, if your life is in upheaval, if you're at the end of your rope, if you're tired of surviving and not thriving, if you're living a life too small for your dreams, and if your soul is calling you, then say yes and fly to the sky, to the source, and to all that you desire. Once again, knowing that the best is yet to come. Please share this broadcast with at least 3 other people. Bring light to them. Listen to it over and over. Bring it into your life to facilitate your change and your growth. And so it is.